Pinchas. I'm driving to work this morning once again on board. Sorry I'm wearing my shades today. The sun is kind of hitting my face and I have to be able to see good to drive. So it's still early in the morning and it's kind of low. But as I drive to work, a lot of times I'm bored in my car. It's a lot of times stop and go traffic. So I love to meditate on some scripture. And I thought I would just do it out loud and record this video for you. So I've been meditating on Psalm 3 this week quite a bit, and particularly I've been studying the primary verses, the very opening of the psalm. Psalm 3 begins with a short superscription, a little bit of a preamble that says that David is writing this in a moment of stress, when he's running away from Absalom, from his son. His own son is trying to pursue him, and his life is in danger. And so out of this moment of stress, out of this moment of duress, these beautiful words are born. And these words are full of hope, and these words are full of trust. And that encourages me this morning as I'm driving, and I'm thinking that even in the moment of trouble, David is crying out to God, and he knows that God will answer him. Maybe there are days when you feel like you're being pursued by your enemies. Maybe you are being oppressed and stressed and stretched and pushed and shoved in some direction you don't really want to go. Maybe you sometimes feel like crying out to God as well. How many are my foes? How many are my troubles? How many are my enemies that surround me? Lord, I can't take this anymore. That's exactly what he's feeling right now in this psalm. And that's why it speaks to me. I stopped here for a moment so I can read this out loud for you. Adonai ma rabu tsarai. Lord, how many are my foes? How many are my adversaries? How many are my troubles? How many rise up against me? Rabim omrim lenafshi, ein Yeshua lo ve'Elohim selah. Many say about my soul, about my life, that there is no hope, there's no salvation for him in God. Selah. And then David goes on to continue to explain that God is his shield. So many are doubtful that he is going to survive this event. But he says, no, God is my shield. So I want to dive into Hebrew words with you just for a few moments. When I study the Psalms, when I meditate upon them, as I muse, I like to almost retranslate the Psalm for myself. It makes it more real to me. It makes it pop. It makes it stand out. It makes you realize how I can identify with each and every word that I'm reading. So the first phrase, Adonai ma rabu tsarai. David is basically saying, Lord, there are many that are afflicting me. I know a lot of translations talk about enemies and foes and adversaries and things like that, but it's not very clear, that he means humans over here, by the way, because it just says tsarai. Tsar can mean an enemy, can mean an adversary, but more generically, the word just means trouble. There are many. Rav means many or much. It's like a numerical quantity. There are many troubles that come my way. Basically, that's what David is saying. And of course, he probably means real enemies, people who are pursuing him for trying to take his life. So he parallels it with Rabim kamim alai, which basically means, again, many. Rabim Kamim is kum, which means rise up. Alai is upon me. So many rise upon me. Then he intensifies his speech and he says, Rabim omrim lenafshi. Many say of my soul, many translations would put it. And it's not inaccurate. It's just the word nefesh does mean soul, but more precisely, it means life. So many say about my life. So what are they saying? Ein Yeshua lo ve'Elohim selah. Ein means not, and then Yeshua is Yeshua. Yeshua means salvation or deliverance or rescue. So there's no salvation for him in God. Meaning, God is not going to rescue him. God is not going to save you. Not this time. Basically, David is relaying a message of others, and he says, you're not going to survive this one. You're not going to live through this one. This is the one where you are toast. And so that turns me to this word, a significant word in this verse, Yeshua. Salvation or deliverance or rescue. You know, the word Yeshua is related to a word that many people today know. Yeshua is Jesus' name in Hebrew, but it's not the same word, by the way. Yeshua is spelled differently. It's spelled with a hey. Yeshua is spelled with ayin. So Yeshua is a derivative of Yehoshua, which comes from the same exact root. And it does have to do with salvation. Yeshua does mean deliverance and salvation. It means prosperity. Prosperity, not in the sense of like financial prosperity or anything like that, more like well-being. And Yeshua is one of those words that in the Hebrew Bible is very diverse, sort of say, in meaning. Yes, it gets translated salvation most of the time, but what it means is so much more. And when I say salvation, so for a lot of my Christian friends, they immediately think of a spiritual experience they had. They think of not knowing God and all of a sudden realizing who God is, or being far away from God and then drawing closer. And that is a wonderful experience. For many people, this is a transformation of being far off and being brought near. And so a lot of people associate salvation with their personal experience. But what you have to ask is, what is the personal experience of David here? He's not talking about salvation from some eternal damnation. He's not talking about some heavenly life or anything like that. A lot of times when Christians speak of salvation, they talk about some life beyond life or something like that, some spiritual life, salvation for the future. But that's not what David is talking about. He's running from his enemies. He's talking about salvation now. His skin needs to be saved from his enemies. That's what he's talking about. So a lot of times in the Hebrew Bible, when the word salvation, Yeshua, pops up, that's exactly what it means. Being rescued and saved and delivered from the hands of the enemies who are looking to pursue you, to kill you, to destroy you, to bring you down. And that is what I think many of us have to remember. Not every time the word salvation is used in the Bible, it's about saving your soul or redeeming you in some spiritual sense. A lot of times it's just physical rescue from a troublesome situation, which is obviously what it is for David right now in this psalm. And this is where people have to realize that salvation is something that can happen to you every day. I know every day for me is a moment of salvation, multiple times a day. Sometimes I'm driving to work and I encounter dangerous situations on the road. I could be crossing the street and the car zooms by and I'm almost hit. So when I come to that moment of rescue, when I could have died and I didn't, I say salvation. God literally just saved me. In fact, Hebrew Bible uses the word salvation in plural. How about that? Yeshuot. We have plenty of examples there. And how can one have many salvations? I know that in Christian thinking that kind of is a difficult one to wrap your mind around, but in the Hebrew Bible it's quite normal. Why? Because every day you go through dangerous situations in life, and every day you're saved over and over and over because God protects you. That's why David says, Lord Adonai, you are my shield. You are protecting me over and over and over. I lay down to sleep, I rise up. Why? Because you protected me as I slept. Nobody came and killed me. So a thought comes to me this morning that as I think of salvation, as many of you think of salvation, we really should focus on this idea of salvation being now. Salvation being very real and tangible. It's not something that's has happened in the past and maybe will happen in the future because we're all going to go to heaven and be with God or something like that. It's so much more. You know, every week at the closing of the Sabbath, in Jewish community, we sing words from the prophet Isaiah. Hine el Yeshuati, Efta velo echad, ki aziv zimrat ya Adonai vayahili Yeshua. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for the Lord my God is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. Salvation is not always an event. Salvation is the state of being with God. It's the moment of walking with him every day, including today. I am thinking of another passage in Exodus 15:5 that talks about God becoming our salvation. You see, that's a different thought. That salvation is not some event. That God is our salvation. God is our deliverance. So this is what I think David means when he talks about, people say about me, Ein Yeshuata lo ve'Elohim. There is no salvation for him in God. He says, no, that is not how it is. God is my shield, my magen. God is my glory, my kvodi. God is the one who lifts my head, mirim roshi. For David's salvation is not just something that's happening. For David's salvation is walking in the presence of God. And the more we realize that we do not live any moment of our life without God, the more we can be filled with his strength. The more we can be hopeful and be assured that God is never forsaking us, that we are never out of his reach. That is what gives us strength. That is what gives us an ability to withstand very difficult circumstances. That is why David's faith is not wavering at all, and yours shouldn't waver either. God is our salvation. He is our shield. He is our glory. Let us know this and stand firm each day as we're being saved, delivered, and rescued over and over and over. Well, looks like I've pretty much gotten to work now. I need to wrap up this video, but thanks very much for being with me. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you love these videos, if you love these morning meditations, drop me a note, let me know. Please hit subscribe, like, share it with your friends.